Hello everyone, Lord here. Welcome back to Shadowverse. Today we'll be taking a look at another of this expansion's Week 1 decks. In case you're new, we're basically going to be trying out one of the archetypes that the community has brewed up or gravitated towards with the influx of new Brigade of the Sky cards, and seeing if it's all smoke or here to stay. As a reminder, pretty much all decks featured here are either quite experimental or at least in their early stages of development, so I advise patience. Even if a featured deck ends up being a part of the meta, the list may go through substantial changes that drastically alter its crafting cost. Remember, I'm potentially wasting my vials, so you don't have to. With that in mind, let's take a look at today's contender. Enter Arcus OTK Shadowcraft. So, you may have heard of Arcus Shadow before. It's basically a tempo deck that has a late game-ish storm wind condition, which materializes over a few turns. And that build is still around, and arguably better than this one. However, right now we're looking at a bit of a different twist on the idea. With the addition of Fairy Spirit Maiden this expansion, we can now trade the definitive but slow Ghost Chipping for a much more well-pronounced single big turn. It's not difficult to explain, but how about I just show you instead? We're aiming for something like this.
This strategy will do it, no question.
We won't give him an inch! I am Belinus the Shining!
I'm coming for you. Who trained you? Time for a do-over.
Isn't this a wonderful program?
I'm coming for you.
Fun employment plus you can get this one.
What?
You can get this one.
Ah.
You can get this one.
What?
You can get this one. You can get this one.
I have failed.
Wasn't that just gloriously disgusting? In case you're curious, the exact damage we do is 22. I'll bump that up to 28 if we also use an evolution point. So the premise is simple on paper. Get the Arcus effect online, get Fairy, Ephemera, a 2 playpoint follower, and 2 other followers of any cost in hand, and get to turn 10. There's a few details like the 2 playpoint follower having to not be another Fairy unless we have 2 additional other followers, and some situations where you can get away with using a 3 playpoint follower instead, but this is our ideal scenario. Okay, let's get back to the list. I've cleaned up the odd animated cards, so it should hopefully be easier to read. So, Arcus, Fairy, and Ephemera are our main combo pieces. What about support cards? Well, low-cost followers innately synergize with Arcus, so we're gonna pack just about as many as we can fit, and we'll generally take followers over spells as much as we can afford to. So, Soul Conversion, Demon Eater, Andrelphus, and Pure-Hearted Singer are our draw. Belinus, Undying Resentment, Fran Monster Girl, Mist of Extinction, and Proto-Bahamut are our removal. And Lady Grey and Series of the Night are our typical good stuff, though in our case they mostly help with board control. Okay, let's talk about the bear in the room. Plagued City. This is a card you've doubtlessly seen on everybody's worst cards list. Well, I'm here to tell you that, provided the meta isn't taken against it, this is the tech card to end all tech cards. In case you don't know, while Plagued City is in play, every follower is a zombie. They still get to activate their fanfares when initially played, but outside of that, every single follower that comes down becomes functionally identical to a generic 2/2 zombie token. This is unbelievably powerful against any deck that relies mostly on followers to win the game. Provided you have the means to keep the board clear, and this is where Mist and Bahamut come in very handy, you are basically immune to strategies that rely on Storm, Ambush, or anything hinging on a follower's passive ability. No more Zoes, no more Orcus puppets, no more Mordecais, no more White Vanaras, only zombies allowed. What's even better? As all countdown amulets, Plagued City ends on your turn. In other words, you are the first that can take advantage of the effect's disappearance. And since we're a 1-turn kill deck, we really only need 1 turn. What's more, your opponent can't immediately defend against your OTK because, well, all they have are zombies. The dream here is turn 7 Arcus, turn 8 Plagued City, turn 9 Board Wipe, and turn 10 OTK combo. Provided you had all the cards necessary and Plagued City wasn't destroyed, most decks will get absolutely demolished by this sequence. I could talk about this card all day, but I will instead try to demonstrate its power in the games to come. So, without further ado, let's dive in and see if ghosts are spookier than skeletons.
I bring unto you serenity.
This garden blossoms for eternity.
I am Belinus the Shining!
Taking the shot.
Decay and shine!
Come, I'll love you down to the bone.
This garden blossoms for eternity. I am but a single petal of many.
Darling, I'll be home
This
soon.
garden blossoms for eternity. I am but a single petal of
I
many.
am Belinus the Shining!
Join me on a musical journey.
This garden blossoms for eternity.
Got me feeling hungry!
Begin.
Breaking me will change nothing. Scarlet roses are so commonplace. I trust you are prepared. I am but a single petal of many.
Decay and shine!
I am but a single petal of many. This garden blossoms for eternity. This garden blossoms for eternity. Scarlet roses are so commonplace. I trust you are prepared. I am but a single petal of many. I am but a single petal of many.
The march goes on.
Oh, a new puppet just for me.
Isn't this a wonderful program?
It's really perfect.
Target in sight. Preparing to fire.
Here in this tower, all alone. Sleep.
Boo should act like Boo.
I'm coming for you.
Kindness. So that's how people love. Do you taste for blood yet?
I'm coming for you.
Who trained you? Time for a do-over.
Isn't this a wonderful program?
I'm coming for you. Power of mortality.
Mother, father, come on!
wander no longer? Darling, I'll be home soon.
And shine.
Come, I'll love you down to the bone. Come, I'll love you down to the bone. Hush, little baby. Come, I'll love you down to the bone.
Darling, I'll be home soon. Darling, I'll be home soon.
Why are you letting me live? You feel like killing yet?
Darling, I'll be home
I am
soon.
Venomous the Shining.
This song's for you.
I am Venomous the Shining.
You're mean!
Blessed by the heavens. The battle is within the gaze.
Decay and shine.
Did you want it?
So, it ends here.
I'll love you down to the
This
bone.
song's for you.
Hush, little baby. Don't say a word. So, it ends here.
This song's for you. You want to play?
Darling, I'll be home soon.
Isn't this a wonderful program?
It feels like you're part of the action.
You're mean! Big souls, they're where it's at.
Come again, would you?
I'm coming for you.
I am Venomous the Shining.
I'm coming for you.
Decay and shine.
I'm coming for you.
Change you. Time for a do-over.
I'm coming for you.
I'm full. Food should act like food.
I'm coming for you.
Did you want it? Do you thirst for blood yet? You finally did it. That little bit of so commonplace. Why are you letting me live?
I'm coming for you.
You feel like killing yet? Do you thirst for blood yet? This song's for you. You feel like killing yet? How
I am Venomous the Shining.
I'm coming for you.
Change you. Time for a do-over.
fun and playing with the
I'm coming
Fun
for
and playing
you.
with you can get this one. 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 You're too strong.
くだらん戦いだ。
Time for me to prove myself.
Did you want it? Will you be good to me? Will you be good to me? Come, I love you down to the bone. Keep suck. Hush, little baby. Don't say a word. Hurry!
I am Feminist the Shining!
Darling, I'll be home soon.
Let's play! You're done for! So sparkly!
Decay and shine! I am Feminist the Shining!
もろすぎる
Sorry!
Decay and shine!
It won't be long now! Goblin roses are so commonplace.
地に落ちよ
I trust you are prepared.
Come, I'll love you down to the bone.
Let's go! To the ends of the earth!
Darling, I'll be home soon.
Isn't this a wonderful program? Carried out by the wind. Let's go to the ends of the earth. Come again, would you?
This song's for you.
I'm coming for you
Fun employment? Plus, you can get this one! Oh, you can get this one! Ow! You can get this one! Ow! Hey, let's play!
I am Feminist the Shining.
I'm coming for you
You can get this one! You can get this one! Ow! Why are you letting me live?
I'm coming for you
You can get this one! You can get this one! Ow! I feel like killing yet. Food should act like food.
I'm coming for
You
you
can get this one! You can get this one! Ow! Whoa! You're strong!
くだらん戦いだ
The artifacts obey me.
Come, I'll love you down to the bone.
This garden blossoms for eternity.
This song's for you.
I am but a single petal of food should act like food.
Did you want it?
I am Feminist the Shining. destruction! Declare and shine!
Darling, I'll be home soon.
I'm stopped.
Hikisaku.
Why are you letting me live? Feel like killing next?
I applaud you.
Check out this new technology!
Why are you letting me live?
I am Valinus the Shining!
Feel like killing next?
Not enough enhancements to the suit!
Taking the shot!
Declare and shine! Isn't this a wonderful program? Come again, would you?
Engaging battle mode.
Join me on a musical journey.
Ranger, time for a do-over. I'm coming for you. Enemy sighted. Wake up. Please. Food should act like food.
I'm coming for you.
Who trained you? Time for a do-over.
I'm coming for you.
But you can get this one. 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 You can get this one.
Okay, you should have a pretty good idea if this deck is for you or not. Here are my thoughts on the archetype. It is very interesting. Even though I'm not a huge fan of them, one-turn kill combos have always fascinated me, and this one is no exception. The idea of having this inevitability in your win condition has always been very appealing, but having it come from strong synergy between multiple seemingly disconnected pieces rather than a clearly intended central one like Giant Chimera, now that's something. There's a strange kind of satisfaction that comes with pulling off a combo that requires quite so many pieces. Fascination aside, the very nature of this combo here feels borderline broken. You require no cards on the board, you require no previous chip damage and can deal the full 20 to your opponent's face, and you even have some potential outs to typical countermeasures like Ward, with the extra ghosts and cards like Fran's Curse. That's not even mentioning how your particular combo conveniently circles around some common anti-OTK tech like Godsworn Alexial. Once you get to 10 and have all the pieces, it takes a very concentrated effort to weather your attack. But that's also where the weaknesses of this archetype shine through the most. While powerful, your combo requires a very large number of pieces. And unlike decks in the same vein, for example, Ginger Runecraft, you can't make do with less than the full amount. Ginger might be fine only dropping one Zeus and one Israfil, but missing a single piece here can easily cost you most or all of your damage potential. That's disregarding the fact that Ginger also has access to much easier draw engines. Another point is that some of your combo pieces and cards that generally help the strategy get there, like Plagued City and Proto Bahamut, are extremely clunky early game. Bricking is a very real concern here, and while it may not always be a complete brick, good luck surviving to turn 10 when your only turn 5 play is an ephemera. Now, I do want to state for the record that I don't feel like I played this deck very well. Looking back on my games, I think I focused too much on getting the combo every game instead of much more efficiently leveraging the deck's inherent tempo power with ghosts or the plethora of early game followers. In other words, I'm pretty sure that the deck can perform significantly better than what you've seen here. However, I think that it's likely going to take you quite a few games before you can get into the mindset necessary to start tapping into that full potential. Finally, I wanted to leave a short comment regarding Plagued City. Even after breaking with it so many times, I still feel that it is a phenomenal tech card that is mainly kept in check by the potential for counterplay and the almost prohibitively high cost. If it was slightly cheaper in order to allow for both more potential removal to be played in the same turn and for exchanges like Seraphic Blade to not be such a clear net gain for the opponent, I will definitely be advocating for this card in every Shadow deck. As is, if your strategy can work around it and you've got the tools to leverage its effect to the maximum, think Proto Bahamut to clear the board or Arcus's effect to allow for very efficient board flooding, I still think it's a great one-card catch-all tech choice that you should definitely try out. I do somewhat wish that Tenko's popularity would die down a bit though. Having the clearly anti-Fox Girl Seraphic Blades and Fall from Graces accidentally pooping on my zombie parade is upsetting, to say the least. To summarize, I feel that the combo is both very clever and quite powerful. However, I feel that the cards included to make it possible and support its execution make the deck significantly less versatile in comparison to generic Arcus and introduce a whole new slew of problems like potential bricking or difficult hand management. Combine that with the currently generally unfavorable meta, where reaching turn 10 in random ladder games is somewhat difficult, and the overall low evaluation of Shadowcraft by top players, and you sadly have the recipe for a somewhat fringe deck. Nobody really plays around this combo, not that a lot of counterplay is available anyway, and actually pulling it off feels really good. However, objectively, I think this is very much a deck that can truly shine only after a meta shift or in a tournament setting. Still, the potential is there, and if the day comes where slower decks are the norm or a little bit of additional support is added in the mini expansion, for example, I can easily see Arcus OTK jumping out of the woodwork to become this expansion's Ginger Rune. But again, that day is not today. So what do you think? Do you think OTK combos of any kind are the devil and wish that all these pesky ghosts would go haunt someone else? Or are you a spook connoisseur, intrigued and excited by the idea of having not only ghosts, but also zombies? Let me know in the comments. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Lord, and this has been Shadowverse. Thanks for watching.